What's up, everyone? My name is Matthew Dale, and I am here to help you play better, sound great, and understand more. And many of you know me as an Axe-FX or a Fractal guy, but I don't always believe that that is the proper solution for everyone. I believe that most gear can be good gear when used in the appropriate application, and all gear has its own compromises and limitations. So if you are on the fence with whether or not to buy an Axe-FX, stay tuned for some reasons why you may not want to buy one. And if you like this video and you want to stay tuned for my follow-up, reasons why you should buy an Axe-FX, go ahead and hit that subscribe button now. So right off the bat, if you are a beginner guitar player, buying something like the Axe-FX may not be the proper course of action for you. And I'm not really talking about spending a lot of money on gear while you're a beginner or anything like that. I'm really talking to you as the beginner of understanding guitar tone. And with something like the Axe-FX that has just an insane number of possible combinations, an insane number of amps and cabinets and effects and everything that's packed into this thing, it's going to be pretty overwhelming if you're a beginner and you don't really know much about guitar tone to dive in and try to get a good sound right away. I really think you'd be better off buying a tube amp first, because tube amps are going to be easier to get a good tone out of from the get-go. Really, it can be just as easy as turning the thing on and dialing in the bass, mids, and treble to your taste, and away you go. And then as you develop your skills as a guitar player, both in playing and in understanding guitar tone, you will be adding pedals to that rig more and more. So you might add a drive pedal or a compressor pedal, maybe a reverb or a delay pedal, and so on and so forth. So what you're doing in those moments is you are understanding very particular elements of guitar tone at your own pace throughout a longer stretch of time. You don't have to dive in and learn, what a phaser, what a compressor, what a drive, what reverb, what chorus, what all of these things do right away to try to control your gear. You are understanding guitar tone over a longer period of time, ultimately making it more enjoyable for you to play and get to a point where you are picking up your guitar and going straight to playing rather than, messing around with some software or twisting some knobs or anything like that. This also kind of leads into my next reason as well, and that would be the initial setup. I've seen a number of guitar players and students that will buy a modeler and not really know how to use it off the get-go. And this really goes for any sort of modeling type of gear. I'll have students that come to me, well, I got this thing and, it sounds okay, but I don't know, I don't really like it too much. And I'll ask them, okay, so what are you playing it through? Well, I have it plugged into my amp. Okay, is it going into the front end of your amp, or is it going into the effects return of your amp? Well, I got it going in the front end. Okay, are you using other preamp models? Well, yeah, okay. Try maybe going into the effects return of your amplifier and see how that does. Okay, well, I tried that, and that, sounds a little bit better, but it's still not great. Okay, are you using cabinet modeling? Well, yeah, I'm using cabinet modeling. Shouldn't you do that? Well, no. If you're going into the effects return of a combo amp and there's a guitar speaker right there, you probably don't want to use cabinet modeling. Although sometimes you can get away with it, but in general practices, you don't want to double cab your guitar tone. In order to really use and enjoy modelers like right out of the box, the Fractal and the Axe-FX stuff included, generally speaking, they are set up from the factory to go direct to like a front of house system or FR/FR. So if you already have a rig that you are comfortable with, like a tube amp and a pedal board rig that you're comfortable with, and then you want to add some of this digital stuff to your arsenal, but you don't have the means of listening to what the device is doing, you might be setting yourself up for disappointment. And then when you add in the cost of the Axe-FX plus some kind of listening device, whether it be a pair of studio monitors, FRF, or speakers, you name it, that cost is certainly going to add up. Let's talk about playing environment. If you are the type of player that mostly plays at home, a traditional tube amp and pedal board might be better for you in that case as well. That would certainly take the whole amp in a room experience out of the equation, which is always a topic for discussion with the Axe-FX or any sort of modeling device. Although I use my Axe-FX and my FM3 all the time at home and in my home studio, these in my opinion are really meant to be gigging devices. Certainly you can use them in the studio, but like I said, there's a pretty steep learning curve if you are coming over from the tube amp world to the digital stuff. And if you're already comfortable and you're just playing mostly at home or with friends or maybe the occasional weekend gig here and there, it may not be worth it for you to spend the money and buy an Axe-FX. Now, on the topic of gigging and using the Axe-FX in particular, the Axe-FX is a rack-mounted unit. It's meant to live in a rack connected to other equipment. And that really matters for a couple of things. One is stage plot. So generally speaking, my Axe-FX always lives on the side of a stage. It's never really around me at all. So if you are going to be plugging in with a cable, you're going to need a really, really long cable to get to the side of most stages. Now, my Axe-FX lives in a rack with my wireless unit that is always connected to the back of the Axe-FX. So that's no issue for me. But then the other issue is foot control. You're going to need to buy an additional foot controller, maybe one of the FC units from Fractal or another MIDI device, and you're going to have to run that to your stage plot in order to control your sound. So if a stage plot or cabling is going to be an issue for you, you may have better luck using an all-in-one floor unit. Now, this doesn't mean that I don't take my Axe-FX. I gig with my Axe-FX all the time, but I probably gig more with my FM3. It's all-in-one. I've got foot switches. I can expand the foot switches if I need to. I can use a cable if I don't need to go wireless, and my cable drop is right at my feet. Everything is just all right there at my disposal. I don't need to occupy other spaces of a stage. But for anything that's going to be a medium or a large size venue where I would need a wireless to walk around or run around a stage, or if I needed to run in-ears because my in-ear unit is in my rack as well, for anything like that, then yes, the Axe-FX would be my go-to there. But that's, fewer times than I would be just pedal board, need my sounds, plug in with a cable and go. The last thing that I'll say in regards to why you shouldn't buy an Axe-FX is if you are trying to build your own sound or your own tone. And I don't mean that the Axe-FX isn't capable of this. It's certainly capable of recreating just about any tone you can imagine. But I know from me coming over from a tube amp world and then getting into the Fractal stuff, I kind of thought that I had my own sort of sound together using a Fender amp for cleans and maybe a Vox or a Marshall for some crunch or some drive tones. I kind of thought that was maybe my sound for a while, and then I got into the Fractal stuff and I had just option paralysis. There were so many amps I could choose. Okay, well, if I am kind of a Fender guy, then what Fender clean do I like? Maybe I like a Mesa clean. Maybe, what Marshall do I want for my overall drive tone? Is it going to be a JTM45, a JCM 800? Is it going to be one of the Camerons? Is it going to be one of the Friedmans? You can, sort of see how this can get exasperated over time, where now all of a sudden I've got so many options. The Axe-FX and the Fractal stuff for me really became a utilitarian type of piece of equipment. It's great for getting sounds that I need for any particular gig when, someone says, hey, we're playing this song and I need this tone, or, we're going to be in a blues band or we're going to be doing a modern rock band. I kind of know how to navigate the device to create those sounds that are required of me, but developing my own tone, my own signature sound became really tricky because there are certainly so many things that could be my signature sound. And the danger to that might be that we spend more time fiddling around with the device and less time actually playing our guitar. Now, I say all that stuff with, all of the love in the world that I have for my Axe-FX and all of the Fractal devices, but there are definitely things that you should consider before making the purchase. Now, if you have already made the purchase and you want something to help your option paralysis, then you should download my Fractal guide linked in the description below. I've narrowed down all of the amps and cabs to just a handful select few that I think sound great in any sort of situation. And that will definitely help you to get playing faster and more rather than twisting some knobs. So hit the link in the description below and download my 100% free guide, my free gift to you just for hanging in there and watching this video. Leave a comment below if you found this helpful, and remember to stay tuned for my follow-up why you should buy an Axe-FX, coming out soon. My name is Matthew Dale. Play better, sound great, and understand more.